millions of screens. We'll start the meeting with a karakia, the council karakia. Feel free to join in. Tuia e runga, tuia e raro, tuia a roto, tuia e waho, tuia ngā kaimahi o te kaunahire o Kirikiriroa, whaia te eti kaurangi, kia u, kia mau, kia ita, haumie, huie, taiki. Thank you, everyone, and welcome to the Traffic Speed and Road Closures hearing panel for the 2nd of April. I'll open the meeting accepting any apologies. Have we received any today? Nope. Councillor Maxine is moving. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Louise. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against?
Motion was carried unanimously.
Thank you. Item 2, confirmation of the agenda. Are there any points of clarification to be made? There being none, I'll move that the agenda be confirmed. Can I have a seconder? Yep, second. Councillor Maxine. All those in favour say aye. All those against?
The motion was carried unanimously.
Thank you. I'll open it for declarations of interest.
Madam Chair, very interested.
Noted. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I don't need to move that, do I? Okay. We'll move on to item 4, confirmation of the minutes for the 12th of March. I'll move that the minutes are confirmed as a true and accurate record. We have a desperate going to Councillor Tim, going once, going twice sold. All those in favour say aye. Against?
The motion was carried unanimously.
Right. It's a hot battle out here. And we will open for item 5, the reason we're here today. I'd just like to start by reminding the committee and any viewers online of the purpose of the item today. We're here to listen and consider both our public submitters today, but also the 1107 responses on the speed limit change for Wairere Drive. I note that the speed limit reduction is part of the resource consent development for development of a pack and save on Eagle Way. The process today will be that we'll hear from our submitters. Each submitter will be getting 5 minutes for individuals and 10 for groups, inclusive of any questions if they so wish. After this, we'll hear from staff on the report and open up for questions and feedback for the deliberations report, which will be going to full council on the 30th of April. So are there any questions on process for that? No? Yes?
Question on process to governance. Why is it going to council and not the infrastructure committee? Is it just a timing thing?
By resolution.
By resolution.
Did it? Because we did it in December at council, didn't we? I think. Okay, that's fine. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, with that, I'll call up our first submitter, Liam Carter. So welcome, Liam, regular visitor and very familiar with the process. And today you're representing Ride Your Trike, so you have 10 minutes today, and just allow for any time at the end for questions if you so wish.
Thank you for letting me talk again. Obviously we're here today to strongly advocate for the lowest possible speed limit on Wairere Drive. Not just to accommodate the new pick and save development, but to enhance safety and accessibility for all road users, cyclists, pedestrians and motorists alike. Number one, road safety should be our top priority. where a drive is a major corridor, but it also intersects with residential areas and commercial zones and active transport routes. Research consistently shows that lower speeds save life. At 80 km now, a pedestrian or a cyclist hit by a vehicle almost has zero chance of survival. At 60, the risk of death drops to around 70, still quite high. At 50, 60, survival risks increase significantly. This is not just about protecting those on bikes, trucks or footpaths. It's about making the road safer for everyone. Lower speeds mean fewer crash, and when accidents do happen, the consequences are far less severe. The biggest difference between an 80k road and a 60 is the ability to stop in time to prevent crashes. I found out at 80k the driver takes around 60 meters to come to a complete stop in dry conditions. In wet conditions, it can be closer to 80 meters. At 60k, the stopping distance drops to about 35 meters, meaning a driver has far more time to react and avoid hitting another vehicle, cyclist or pedestrians. Crashes at 80k's almost always result in death or severe injuries, as we've seen in some recent crashes on that road. Simply put, a person at 60k, which will have a chance of survival, at 80 they basically don't. Hamilton is New Zealand's fastest growing city. With growth becomes responsibility to prioritize smart, people-focused infrastructure. More people means more cyclists and pedestrians using the city's roads. Lower speeds encourage people to walk, bike and use mobility devices rather than feeling forced to use our road and drive. With the expected growth in Rotorua northwest and Te Rapa north, we need roads that are safe for all users before the population goes higher. Not after accidents start happening, please. By setting the speed at 60 or even lower, we are ensuring Hamilton's growth is sustainable and safe for the future generations. The new Pack and Save development will bring around 150 new jobs and serve a community of 80,000 people, including residents from Ngaruawahia, Rotorua, Te Rapa and Rotorua. Lower speeds create a safer and more inviting environment for shoppers, cyclists and pedestrians. A city that prioritises people over cars is better for business, encouraging foot traffic and making it easy for locals to access shops and services. It also aligns with Hamilton City Council's long-term transport goals, which emphasise sustainability and multimodal transport options. My recommendation is to go with a 60k or even ideally 50. This is not just about a supermarket development, but this is about shaping Hamilton's transport network. We have an opportunity to design safer, more inclusive roads that prioritise people over cars. Let's not miss it. Hamilton is growing, and with it becomes a massive responsibility. We must build a city that is safe, accessible and forward-thinking. Setting the lowest speed limit in this area is small but a powerful step towards a city where all road users, whether they drive, cycle, scooter or walk or use mobility devices, can move safely and confidently. Let's put people first. Let's choose safety. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Liam. We have 4 minutes on the clock. Is there any elected members that have any questions for Liam or Ride Your Trike? No, none today. Thank you, Liam. You make some excellent points, and really appreciate the clear framing you had in your submission attachment. It was really easy to understand your point of view. So thank you so much for your time today. Thank you. So we'll just- Okay, I understand due to some technical issues, we will have to bring forward Rudy Deploy, if you're comfortable with that, Rudy. Another familiar face in the chambers. Welcome, Rudy. Appreciate you taking the time to come in today. You know the drill. It'll be 5 minutes time, and if you want to allow for elected members to ask you any questions, you need to have that inclusive of the 5 minutes. I'll hand
Thank
it
you
over
for
to
that.
you. Thanks, Rudy.
At least it's nice to be referred to as a technical issue. So here I am. I've got a proposal on the Wairere Drive speed limit, and I am in opposition of the speed limit reduction. I'm dead set against the Hamilton City Council's proposal to cut the speed limit on Wairere Drive between Arthur Porter Drive and Puketi Road from 80 to 60. This change is actually a dud. It wrecks traffic flow. It delivers next to no safety gain, which is the important point, and reeks of manipulative framing. Here is why Hamilton should bin it. Wairere Drive's role is an urban connector. I use the word role to describe like we each have a role. This road actually has a role to fulfill, and that is to effectively move traffic from one end to the other end in the safest possible way. That is the role of the road. We should not tinker with that. Wairere Drive is a lifeline for moving people and goods across Hamilton. Otherwise, we'll have them going through the centre city. It's not a side street for supermarkets and shoppers. Current traffic's at 22,800 AADT, set to hit 31,500 with the Pack and Save event. That's a 38% jump in traffic. Drivers already cruise at 62 to 68 kilometers an hour. They self-regulate below the 80 kilometer limit, proving the road works fine as is. Slashing it to 60 k's an hour won't make it safer. It'll just clog a vital artery when Hamilton's growth demands efficiency and not red tape. Now, there are dangers of speed limit disparity, and those dangers outweigh any gains. The Council's crash stats, 15 minor injury and 53 non-injury crashes over 5 years. That's 2019 to 2023. That's a total of 13.6 crashes yearly with 22,800 AADT. The big promise for dropping to 60 kilometers an hour, a measly 2.1 fewer minor injuries and 7.5 fewer non-injuries over 5 years. 5 years is a long time. 1.9 less crashes per year. That's a 14% dip. That's pocket change, especially with traffic surging to 31,500 AADT. Now flip it. A 60 kilometer an hour zone jammed in 3 vital link roads only risks chaos. The UK's Transport Research Laboratory, TRL report 421 in 2000, shows 1 to 4% crash increases per 1 kilometre speed variation. On 31,500 daily vehicles, that's 5 to 10 extra crashes yearly, easily swallowing the 1.9 savings. With speeds already at 62 to 68 kilometres an hour, this safety fix is a mirage. Now, the supermarket isn't even on Wairere Drive. The Pack and Save is at the Te Rapa and Eagle Way, not Wairere Drive. Trying a 20 kilometre an hour speed limit drop over this 1.2 stretch to a right turn signal at Karewa Place is a stretch, literally. That intersection needs signals or a tweak, not a blanket limit hobbling a key corridor, with AADT climbing 38%. Hamilton needs Wairere Drive flowing smoothly, not snarled by a mismatch, chasing a 1.9 crash drop that's dwarfed by the traffic boom. Fix the site, not the city. Coercion. We always do this when we have proposals to bring. This proposal's a stitch up. The council flaunts jobs, groceries, and growth from the supermarket, then cries it's dead without this change. Classic guilt trip tactics. Their own data guts the safety angle. Speeds are already near 60 kilometres an hour. And the 14% crash reduction is laughable against the 30% traffic rise. This isn't consultation. It's a loaded script to steamroll us. Hamiltonians deserve straight talk, not psychological nudges. The mic drop, solve it properly. If the supermarkets consent.
Sorry, Rudy, I'm just noting that we are over time. If you wouldn't mind just wrapping up your final thought, and then
I can quickly rush through the lot.
Thank you.
I'll go to double speed. It's the supermarket's consent hinges on this rewrite the bloomin' thing. Foodstuffs can bankroll proper fixes on Karewi Place, signals, turn lanes, whatever, without strangling Wairere Drive. A 60-kilometre stub risks more crashes than it saves, and your own numbers prove it's not worth the hassle. Keep Hamilton moving, not grovelling to a developer's shortcut. So my recommendation is hold Wairere Drive at 80 k's an hour and tackle Karewa Place with targeting road engineering. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Rudy. Yeah, unfortunately, we've run out of time from questions from elected members, but appreciate the thought that you've put into the submission and the very clear points you've made.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So we don't have our online. Okay, the next speaker we have is Raymond Mudford on behalf of Grey Power. Welcome, Raymond. I'm sure you know this process well, but as an organisation, you do have 10 minutes, and we will open up for questions if you allow time at the end.
I've done that.
Wonderful. Well, take a seat.
Good to see you all today. A good friend of mine was one of the most senior roading and civil engineers in New Zealand. When asked what his thoughts are about Hamilton's roading, the reply was, the worst in the country. The 99% honest, careful, compliant drivers are abused by officials wasting our money on 30 kilometres per hour, leading into roundabouts, something we actually do already. Speed bumps at intersections and main arterial routes, when the same group of drivers use common sense. Not forgetting speed restrictions on the pretext of saving children's lives when the children do not use a safety zone and jaywalk across the street 20 to 50 metres outside the zone. Police report that 30% of the accidents are a direct result of drugs, that's why they're starting drug testing, a further 30% attributed to alcohol, and the last 30% by inattentive drivers using things such as their cell phones and other distractions. The reality is that the 1% of dysfunctional drivers will not take any notice of the signage and will continue the arrogant behaviour until something happens. The photo example shown on page 20 of the Infrastructure Operations Committee agenda dated 7th of December 2021 is not representative of Wairiri Drive. It does not have 2 additional sets of lights within 250 metres of the proposed controlled intersection. Traffic chaos occurs every day on this and adjacent stretches of road, with traffic build-ups from Te Rapa Road to River Road. A war story for you to all digest. 4 p.m. on a weekday, my wife and I left Gilmore's on the boulevard. Half an hour later, we'd not reached the Te Kowhai Road roundabout. Another half an hour later, we'd not arrived at the Te Rapa Wairiri Road intersection. And guess what? Wairiri Road to River Road was blocked with traffic, adding another half an hour to the journey, a total of an hour and a half because of the bad roading engineering. This whole section of road should stay exactly as it is, and bureaucrats with little or no common sense or engineering qualifications, including an unqualified environment court, should let common sense prevail. Currently, stopping every few minutes on this stretch of road because of bad roading design, resulting in traffic build-up, exceeds any need for additional speeding, especially when the speed will only result in further chaos. In summary, no to the proposed speed restriction and no to any changes on this section of Wairiri Drive. The community need to see common sense and less wasteful spending of our money from council now. Thank you.
Thank you, Raymond and Grey Power. We have 6 minutes left, so I will open it up to elected members for any questions. Councillor Tim.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Ray, for being here and for your submission. Do you have a view on the desirability of the new supermarket that, of course, is the reason for us having to revisit this issue?
Well, as you know, I come from the commercial sector. My previous life, I was actually a consultant in business change management, turning businesses from loss into profit. I believe in the natural law, shall we say. If the supermarket didn't feel there was a business proposition there, they wouldn't do it. In the same way as the opposition found there was a business reason for being there, so they are there. I struggle with the idea that we as a community put constraints of this type around their proposal, when if there's demand for that particular service, then surely demand will drive the viability of that particular organisation. If not, commercial laws apply, they close. And I mean, I use that, I can never remember the name of the road, the Kairi Road. I use that quite frequently. There's cars parked on either side of that road. It's effectively a one-way road. There's very little space, very little margin for actually passing on that road. And I guess if one was to do the piece of work that's being proposed there, although I know it's not part of this proposition, you in effect would have to close the parking off on both sides of the road. Now, the impact of that is there is no other alternative parking, and therefore the people who work there will have to say, I can't work there anymore, therefore the businesses will close. If that's what we want to achieve, then go for it.
So you'd be aware of the fact, this decision had already been made.
Yes.
And we have now been required to revisit it, which is frustrating from council's perspective. You're aware, I presume, of the fact that there were over 1,100 submissions and 2/3 are in favour of the change?
Wonderful, whatever.
Yeah.
But do they actually understand the impact?
I'm just saying these are all factors, of course, that we have to take into account. I'm sorry, I'm
And
not
and that's the
into a debate,
problem.
I just want to...
A lot of questions are emotional questions, and the people being asked those questions don't have the skills to actually answer the question properly.
I'm not sure how we would judge that without
Yeah, you
going
can judge
into,
that.
without going into
But
each
you won't be
individual
looking at each
submission.
individual
No.
one anyhow.
Okay. Anyway, sorry, I just wanted to check because this is not something that we were keen to revisit, but we've been forced to.
Yeah. I don't support the, as you see, I don't support the idea of another set of traffic lights within half a kilometre. And it's even less than that when you take both sets.
No, thank you.
It just causes chaos.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I realise I'm getting into debate and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's helpful sometimes to have the discussion.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from elected members? Councillor Ewan.
Thanks.
Oh, you.
Madam Chair. Hey, Raymond.
Hi,
how
mate.
are you? Have you read the decision of the commissioners for the supermarket consent?
I have read some of it. I didn't read the whole document, but I read the piece around the set of lights and the interchange there, which I believe is not part of this conversation, but you're bringing it up.
But they are somewhat all linked.
It is. I agree.
And so you're not suggesting that as a council we could ignore the conditions stipulated in a consent that's gone through a quasi-judicial process?
I would encourage you to act on the best interests of this community.
So in light of that, you would support legal fees in trying to have that overturned?
I struggle with the idea of having to pay more lawyers to fix a bad decision,
So what is it, Raymond? One or the other? Because you can't have both.
because we pay for it. You don't pay for it, we do.
No. Well, sorry, I'm a ratepayer too, so...
Oh, good. You're paying for it as well. Good.
But my question is, what would you prefer to do? Would you prefer us to comply, or would you prefer us to spend ratepayers' money trying to have it overturned?
I think in the long term, I think we need to spend the money,
Oh, right. And so...
because it's the long-term interest that we have, not the short-term expediency.
I just want confirmation. So you're here today on behalf of Grey Power. Is that Grey Power's position?
We haven't discussed that matter. We haven't discussed the matter of money coming from the community to fund a challenge to the Environment Court. So I can't talk on behalf of Grey Power on that particular matter.
Okay.
This is my personal opinion.
All right. Thank you.
We've got 20 seconds left for any burning last-minute questions. There being none, thank you, Raymond, for coming in on behalf of Grey Power and your time and submission today. I appreciate your thought and insight that went into it.
Thank you.
Have a good day. We still don't have online? Okay. Okay, next I'll call Neil Shaw. Hi Neil, thanks so much for coming in today and spending your time with us. A process, if you're unaware, which I'm sure you are, that there's 5 minutes you have today as an individual, and that will include any time you want to answer questions from elected members if you so wish. So I'll leave it in your hands.
Thank you. My submissions today is in regard to the speed limit in the Wairera area leading up to the bridge from the base end, currently at 80 k's an hour. My submissions are in favour to bring that down to 60. I'll disclose my bias at the moment because I am a resident in that area, and I have actually personally witnessed some traffic accidents in that area. It's not well policed, but I'm coming at it from not so much from the safety issues, but as a resident, I know there are noise issues, and it seems to be that there's a winding up of traffic to get up to the 80. If people would just take their time to get up to 80, that'd be fine, but they seem to think that bridge area is a place to accelerate excessively. There's no speed monitoring cameras in that area. I've never ever seen a police officer or police car parked there monitoring speeds, and I'm not sure whether other residents are making any submissions, but I know that all the people in that area must be affected because we hear it quite clearly, and if the wind's blowing in the right direction, it can be very noisy. So my submission is reduce it to 60 and insist on some monitoring speed cameras or something so that excessive speed from the takeoff from the lights at the bridge end doesn't impact the noise. Short and sweet.
We have 3 minutes for any questions. Yeah, it's a very clear submission, and I had noted your points about wanting speed cameras in the area in your submission too, and that was a good insight. So thank you very much for your time for coming in today, and yeah,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Cheers.
Okay. Next we have Jeff Krieger. Welcome, Jeff. Thank you also for your time today. As the process is you have 5 minutes, which includes any time for questions from elected members. So I'll leave it over to you.
The traffic conditions considered at the PAC'nSave resource consent hearing were aimed at minimising congestion, particularly in the Te Rapa Road Eagle Way area from the expected increase in traffic to and from PAC'nSave. There is already congestion in that area caused by the poor decision to allow the Te Rapa Road entry into the base. Black Friday and Boxing Day sales and the like at the base requires traffic control. Instead of addressing the cause, the resource consent hearing and council focused on peripheral issues to the expected increase in traffic to and from PAC'nSave. Wairere Drive from Puketi Road to Te Rapa Road has 4 lanes. At times, southbound traffic can be backed up most of its 410 metre length. Installing a right turn into Karera Place with associated speed bumps, a 1 metre wide solid medium, concrete, that eliminates most of the right-hand lane, reduces the storage length on one side to 50 metres and 100 metres on the other side on an urban connector ring road defies logic. The resource consent in 2019 had 5 traffic engineers providing expert evidence, contradicting the engineers who designed Wairere Drive. Now we have council overriding both. One of the 3 traffic conditions was the speed limit on Wairere Drive between Puketi Road and Te Rapa Road intersections shall be a maximum of 60 kilometres per hour. Council must have known that this was incorrect. Were the 2 council reps at the hearing asleep at the wheel? Porter's resource consent had a greater floor area than the proposed PAC'nSave site. No such traffic safety restrictions were raised or considered. nor were such safety restrictions raised or considered for Woolworths or Kmart when they were constructed. Council is on record as stating the independent commissions had jurisdiction under delegation to bind council by imposing resource management conditions of consent. However, council extended the length of the speed reduction by 890 metres to Arthur Porter Drive, a total distance of 1.3 kilometres, more than twice the requirement, and then consulted on something different from the resource consent. Council exceeded the resource consent with no authority. Council's role was a simple binary decision: approve the resource consent speed reduction or not. The present consultation, the Wairere Drive speed reduction is being reconsulted due to not being implemented over 3 years since approval, and government updating the rules for setting speed limits. Council staff submitted on that draft. How so? Staff do not represent or speak for residents. Council used creative, ambiguous and misleading language in the consultation documents. Despite the same subject and the same conditions, the recent consultation questions were different from the previous 2021 consultation. The additions used propaganda and certainly leading questions that contradict their own statement that information which goes to the broader effects of the supermarket development is irrelevant. After consultation, Council must submit to the Director of Land Transport for approval or not. Finally, relocating the entry into the base to Te Kowhai Road East would eliminate the current congestion, cater for the expected increase in traffic to and from Pak'nSave, and render the right turn into Kawera Place and the speed reduction superfluous.
Run out of time for questions today, but I know you sent through a very detailed report, which Ian sort of read. Just wanted to send you a reminder that the decision today is due to central government's rules and their change in rulings, and that's why it's come back to us and why it may be framed differently to the initial proposal. So thank you for your time today, Jeff, and have a good day. Do we have Jackson online? No others? Okay. Yes.
I wonder if you could just, I heard a comment just then from a member of the public saying that there's only 3 people listening. Could you just explain for those listening online and those in the public that all of our documents are on Diligent, and actually I've got a Word document like many of our elected members writing notes listening to what you're saying. If you could just explain how we work, would be great.
Yes, so just to be clear with all of those present today and online, that we are given the documents ahead of our meeting, and all EM spend time going through the proposals. There's 1,107, so it is, we do need the time beforehand to go through those, and we have done our diligence on that. So yeah, just a reminder that.
And our agendas are electronic and a platform on here. I'm happy for you to look at my notes right now on what you've been saying.
People who are watching online,
No,
not directed at the members.
It wasn't.
Was it directed at the members or at the audience online?
Anyway, yeah, it wasn't, but
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor and Councillor McIndoe. It is a good reminder that, there is a lot of preparation that goes into these meetings, and it's not always transparent how that comes across. But I do reassure the public that we have been reading their submissions for a long time, and appreciate the time and input that everyone's put into it. I think there's, just due to some of the submitters' difficulties, so we've made adjourn for 10 minutes and just allow them to catch up with the timetable and, give them an opportunity to come. So we will return at 10:20. Thank you. to our seats. It's 20 past, and we have managed to get Jackson online, who is wanting to speak. So if we can return to our seats, please. Thank you. Thank you. And I will just remind everyone here today that just to keep, to not speak while others are speaking, just to be fair to anyone who may be presenting. With that, we're going online on Zoom to Jackson. Thanks so much for your time, Jackson. You have 5 minutes for your submission today. And if you're wanting questions, to receive questions from elected members, to allow that within your 5 minutes. So we'll leave it to you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's pretty short and quick, but my main thing is I mean, the speed limit should stay reduced. It doesn't make sense at this time to put it back up to 80 just to put the council in a spot where they may be, sued for not being able to let someone else meet the resource consent conditions that Hamilton City Council themselves imposed. As well as that, it's also the fact that having the road at 80 is no longer fit for the purpose for what that area is. When it was first established, there was, it was just the base out there. There was a few buildings scattered here and there. And so you sort of could go 80 because, there was less traffic. And so there was, I guess over time with the development, adding in the extra shops, the gym, you got a car lot sort of in that same vicinity, as well as increasing the density of housing out towards Puketi. It really doesn't make it that big of a difference, keeping the speed at 60. And honestly, I think, you guys should actually try and find a way to get some money back from the government, because this particular section of road just doesn't make sense to have come back and have this discussion again when it's already been settled, I think 3 times over the course of like the last 5 years or so. So yeah, that's sort of, that's my submission. That's where I'm at. I do think, it'll benefit the council if it stays at 60, and it leaves no place for them, for the council to sort of end up in a position where they will need to be paying money back or, being sued by Pak'nSave for not allowing those conditions of their resource consent to be met. Yeah, any questions?
Thank you, Jackson. There is time for questions if anyone has any. No. A very clear submission. Thank you, Jackson. And I did note your will to just get on with it. But as you mentioned, it did come back to us as a call from central government due to their changes. So it hasn't really been in our hands, but I appreciate your reflections and your time today. So, and glad you could join us.
Yep, definitely. Cool. Thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Jackson. Perfect. And I think that brings us to our last speaker, I understand, John McDonald-Furry. Welcome, John. Thank you for coming in. You're another familiar face and well aware of the process. You've got 5 minutes, including questions. And if you hear the bell, then that means that your time is up. So thank you for coming, and go ahead.
Kia ora. Before giving presentations at a conference as a scientist, I would make conscious decisions about whether the aim of the presentation is to inform or persuade. Scientists have a duty to strive to be neutral and objective, so I'd make the decision to inform rather than persuade in those conference presentations. Council staff ought to be striving to be neutral, balanced and objective. Their duty is to inform councillors and the wider public, not to persuade people to choose their preferred option. Now I'm operating in a more political capacity, I'll be doing more persuading, and my goal today is to try and persuade council to stop producing false and misleading consultation documents. So I'll be referring to the Wairere Drive consultation document dated 24th of January to 7th of March. So on page 3 of that document, they've got the paragraph on proposed changes. They mention the installation of the traffic lights and the resource consent. They make no mention here about the raised platform or raised intersection that I've seen in the plans for that. So either that is not going ahead, which indicates that resource consents are not set in stone and can be changed, or those raised features of that intersection are going ahead and council staff are not being upfront with the public that that's going to be a major feature of this proposal and possibly the most impactful for all the traffic travelling down that road. They state on that same page reasons for the proposal, and I'll quote from the document. Our traffic monitoring shows all traffic on this section of Wairere Drive travels 62 kilometres per hour to 68 kilometres per hour, so there will be minimal impact on travel time. Now, the next page, page 4, has a table, and the section where the new intersection is going in, they list the current mean operating speed as 68 kilometres an hour. So a mean is an average, so you can't have all the traffic travelling below 68 kilometres per hour if that's the average speed, especially given councillors in this council chamber have explained how at peak times the traffic is crawling along there so that they won't have much disruption. So if there's a bunch of traffic crawling along there below 68 kilometres an hour at peak times, there's another group of travellers at off-peak times who are travelling closer to the speed limit of 80 kilometres an hour. So that's going to be your night shift workers, it's going to be your tradies trying to get between jobs during the middle of the day, it's going to be your cleaners rushing around in the early hours of the morning keeping the city clean. So those are the people that are going to be impacted by dropping the speed limit. The people crawling along at peak hour probably aren't going to be bothered by it. They might be bothered by the speed hump, causing extra damage to their suspension, and probably making them reduce their speed below what is posted. So judging by your consultation results, the latest rounds, those indicate that council staff have been effective at persuading the public to support their preferred option. If you keep on making these false and misleading consultation documents, you're operating in bad faith. So that's on council staff for doing it. It's also on councillors because you approve these consultation documents. So councillors need to be doing their job, looking through these consultation documents and saying, look, we need to communicate to the public that we understand averages. You should be doing better data presentation here anyway. You should have a distribution of speeds, maybe average speed at different hours of the day. Might give people a more well-rounded view of the actual situation at that intersection. I'm in favour of option 3, which is you talk to Foodstuffs and you ask them to apply to amend their resource consent, take out that intersection. AA has raised issues with Kawera Place, which I agree with, that it's not designed for a whole lot of traffic going down there. You're going to have to remove car parks to make it work. So I am in favour of option 3 that wasn't in the consultation. You let the supermarket go ahead, you ask them to amend that resource consent. It might take some time. You need to have submitters get involved in that. You can change resource consents, and you should have started that at least a year ago. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, John. I think we only got 10 seconds for questions, so it's a bit short, but if there is any, no, there being none. Yeah, you always pick up a lot of details in all of your submissions, so I appreciate the thought that you put into them. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Okay, and there's no other submitters joining us today, so that brings us to the end of our submissions. As per the process, I will now call up Robin from staff to receive any questions from elected members in regards to the document.
I've got to leave in a few minutes.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. Thank you. Robin, in the report, can we make sure that I get a better explanation? I think it was Jeff Krieger who raised the issue of the resource consent stipulations versus the actual recommended length of road where the speed has been reduced,
Yes,
right?
yes,
And I think it was 1.3 kilometres. Can I have an understanding
yes.
of
That
why
has been explained in the previous reports, but I'll definitely include it
and
again in
highlight
this.
that?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. That was it. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. Is there any other questions, Deputy Mayor?
I know staff were listening and have also read all the submissions, so I'm sure they'll bring back a full deliberations report. There was just one thing raised from a submitter this morning around, let me just go back to my notes. From Grey Power Hamilton requesting or suggesting that council should oppose the original decision. So I'd like to understand the process around that and the cost and the risks to council should they do that. Thank you.
Robin or Tanya, are you able to respond to that?
Yeah, no, we'll work with the planning team to pull together some notes on that consent process and what would be required to go back through that.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. I just had one question. A submitter, NZAA, had suggested the phasing of traffic lights, given that there's 3 in close succession to each other, to reduce the impact of traffic flow. Is this something that we're able to achieve or look into?
Yes, that would be normal practice, but I'm happy to include something in the report on that.
Okay. No other questions? Is there any other comments from staff you want to make clear for clarity following submissions, or there's no other points you wish to make?
Thank you, Chair. I guess the big thing is today was about the hearing. We will bring that report through to the 30th of April committee, and then, as noted by some of the submitters as well, we then have the process of working through with NZTA to get that final approval. We're continuing to liaise with PAC'nSave with regard to the design and implementation works that they have got planned.
Thank you. Okay, so I guess I'll put the motion to put forward the deliberation report. Councillor Hutt to second, and I will open it up for debate. Being the mover, I'm first. Yeah, I just want to thank staff for the report. It's been a long journey getting here, but there's been another opportunity to go out to community and consult and get feedback. So I thank them for their hard work throughout the consultation process and for consolidating the findings This decision has come as a result of central government setting the new speed limits rule, which was signed off in September 2024, which has meant that this decision is returned to council. We've received 1,107 submitters, which, while it did mean a lot of reading, it was fantastic to see a really strong engagement and return from our community. And I really want to thank our submitters, both here today and those who submitted online as well. It's really great to see passionate and engaged citizens, so I really appreciate everyone's time on that. There was a really a wide range of views and mixed perception from people observing that others already speed on that road, and a call for a reduction in speed limits as well as speed cameras, to some noting that it's always backed up and you won't get over 40 k's anyway. So I think John had also reflected that it's probably a reflection of people's personal experiences and their habits, which may have shaped that, but it's always important to get that wide range of perspective. So today it was important to test these submissions and make sure that we have the right recommendations in the deliberation report, and I think some of the feedback today has been helpful in shaping that. So I thank colleagues for input and feedback today, and everybody for their participation. Look forward to it coming back to council on the 30th of April. Oh, 1 second. Nice. Anyone else? Right? No? I won't. I'll hold my right to reply to myself then. And call the vote. All those in favour say aye. Aye. All those against?
The motion was carried unanimously.
Thank you, and we will finish the meeting today with the council karakia. Feel free to join. I just go. Tēnei te whakaere, tēnei te whakawātia, haumie, hui, taiki. Thank you.